Do you like autoloaders and auto reloaders? Well, I know Wargaming does because I swear this is about the 80th autoloader that is coming into the game. We have so many new autoloaders and auto reloaders. I just made a video on the Felice, which is the tier 10 auto reloading, basically Caro turned into a super heavy. We have like two other autoloaders coming into the game as well that I just saw enter testing. There are so many vehicles that have clips Wargaming's adding into the game, and they also gave the Eric a clipping gun now, the Lech Panzer 70 has a clipping gun, and same for the 116 F3. And now we have this, the Object Cust, a Tier 8 Soviet auto-reloading tank destroyer that is currently entering testing, and in today's video, I'll be letting you know everything you need to about this vehicle. Now, as always, this tank is in testing, which means that it could be balanced differently from what we are looking at here. But usually, tier 8s are not as heavily balanced as the tier 10s. And what that means is that it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for this vehicle to come into the game the way that it's currently balanced. In today's video, we're going to be going over the statistics, and I'm going to let you know everything that you need to know about this tank, and whether or not I think it needs to be buffed, nerfed, or it's completely balanced. So, what exactly are we looking at? I don't really know. It's weird. It's basically a WZ-120 GFT turned into a Soviet tank. Now, it doesn't have any frontal protection. I mean, it does have some. The hull armor is about 180, but like that's against tier 8s, not much. You'll get some bounces against tier 7s, but in general, almost every tier 8 is going to cut right through this hull armor on flat ground, not to mention the biggest hatch I've ever seen. Even if you're hiding the vehicle behind a ridge, that hatch is going to stick out like a sore thumb. That thing is huge. Now, it does have some goofy armor, as we can see. It's got these really weird ricochet angles near the gun mantlet, and as you can see, when it uses gun depression, its upper plate becomes an auto ricochet due to the angle that it is sloped at. So, against AP shells, it's actually going to be quite hard to pen. Loading gold, it's not bad in terms of armor, as you can see. The upper half is about 300, and the lower half is also about 300. So, the thing has pretty good armor, to be honest, and if you're using the max gun depression at 5 degrees, you will actually get bounces from a lot of tanks. If we pull out, your average tier A heavy, like a Chrysler K, for example, it's not going to pen you at all because it is APCR. And if we pull out something that has heat, like a T-77, even loading Cali, it's not going to be able to pen this vehicle using gun depression, apart from, of course, the big ol' hongler-bongler on the roof. But armor-wise, at a distance, this thing will actually be pretty impressive. So how about the gun? What are we working with? Well, this thing, it's kind of scary, guys. I mean, it's really scary. Let's equip this vehicle so we can take a look at exactly what we're working with here. There you go. Put on camo net. So first things first, its DPM, a bit on the lower side. As we can see, it's ranked 32 out of the 38 tank destroyers. So it's got some of the lowest DPM in the tier. But 2400 DPM is still totally fine. I mean, most heavies are sitting at around 2k DPM, and that means you're still going to easily out damage per minute any heavy tank that you're going to fight. The only vehicles that are really going to have more DPM are tank destroyers and the occasional medium. But you know what makes up for that lower DPM value? First of all, 480 damage per shot. That makes it one of the higher tank destroyer damage outputs in tier 8. It's more than an Su-130PM, it's more than a Scorpion G. That's really high alpha damage. But read this. Clipping potential. 1440 damage. Yes, this is an auto reloader that has also, obviously, clipping potential. So it holds 3 shells. You have a 4-second interclip, as we can see right here. So it's going to take you 8 seconds in total to deal all 1440 damage, which, to be fair, isn't that long of a time when you realize how much damage this thing deals. Let's start off with the clip, right? So shell 3 gives you 7.97 seconds of reload. And you have the 4-second interclip. So it's 12 seconds for 480 alpha. That's actually not too bad. Then you have an 8.79, so that's an additional 4 seconds there. So again, it's around 12.79 seconds. It's really not a huge difference between shell 2 and shell 3. You can very comfortably shoot 2 shells on this vehicle, deal, 960 damage, and then back into cover and be completely fine. Shell 3, you're going to, hemorrhage your DPM a bit. It's 15 seconds. But it's not a big difference. As I said, it's around 12 seconds for Shell 2, so it's only 3 seconds longer to get Shell 3 loaded. It's not a huge huge difference between them, so I don't really consider this a full-on reserve shell, but it is still a long time. You don't want to, dump that, because if you then want to load the whole clip, it's going to take you over 30 seconds, which is something you'll have to keep in mind. Now, effective DPM at 60 seconds is 3,200, and that's because a lot of people forget autoloaders can dump their shells paired with their DPM. So this vehicle has 2,400 damage per minute on, single shot, but then you can also shoot these additional 2 shells, giving you an effective DPM of 3,200 if you need it. So this is why I always tell people, on paper, an autoloader, auto reloader might look like it has poor DPM. But in reality, it actually doesn't, because you have that ability to not only have decent single shot DPM, but then dump these additional shells when you need to. So you'll always win. With 3,200 DPM, you'll win almost every single engagement up against you. So it's going to be nasty. It's got 130 millimeter. Shell velocity is nice. One thing I do want to see is the accuracy. So base dispersion is fine, 0.277 with refined gun, you'll be pretty accurate. On movement dispersion is incredibly good. Hull traverse dispersion is insanely good. However, moving the gun is the worst in tier 8. A lot of people don't realize this, but turret traverse means moving the gun, right? So what that means is when you're doing this, that is turret traverse for a tank destroyer that doesn't have a turret. So if it's got a really, really awful turret traverse value, it means that basically moving the gun at all is going to cause it to bloom. And it's really interesting because the other values are so good, and then it has 0.172. That's awful. So we'll have to see exactly how that translates when you actually play the tank, but hopefully it doesn't absolutely ruin the gun. Gun depression wise, only 5 degrees, but it does have a crazy amount of gun elevation at 20 degrees, which is shocking for the, profile this thing has going for it. Mobility wise, it's not nearly as fast as you'd think. I would have thought this vehicle goes like 50, but nope, only goes 35. Reverses at 15, and has a power to weight ratio that's all right at 14 on medium terrain, but definitely nothing crazy. Health, 1,300. Actually a decent amount of hit points, to be honest. And it has really good camouflage. If we take off Camo Net, we can see where it's ranked. And, yeah, it has the best camouflage in tier 8. So this thing's going to have really, really good camo values. It will be a super dangerous tank destroyer. I'm excited for this tank. Based off the statistics alone, it's hard to say whether it's overpowered or not, because it does have that really dangerous clip, but it also only has 5 degrees of gun depression. It doesn't have much armor unless you're using that gun depression, and it still has that massive hatch, but it does have really good camo values, and I think it looks actually somewhat balanced, believe it or not. I think it looks somewhat balanced. The only thing I would change is I would make the shell reload maybe closer to 17 or 18 seconds on shell 1, and then you can leave the other 2 the same. That way you really do get punished for dumping into that final shell. But honestly, I think this tank looks fine. I don't think there's anything inherently overpowered about it, because while it does have a very dangerous gun, it also has a long time to deal that damage. 8 seconds is quite a while. So if you're sitting out in the open and allowing this tank to, bleed you for 1,400 health, whose fault is that, really? I think that it's a good thing that Wargaming's adding vehicles with longer intro clips. I hope they do this more in the future, as it makes them a little bit more balanced. But either way, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this thing. Absolutely goofy vehicle, though. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.